like to call to order the regular meeting agenda on Monday, January 9th. It's now in the 6 o'clock hour. Please join Councilman Stipp in the Pledge of Allegiance and stay standing for the invocation, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gracious God, you created life with your hands. You redeemed life with your hands. You called us to you, and you hold each life in your hands. Tonight, we ask you to empower us to help and support our neighbors in need and to do the work of the city using the gifts you have given to us. Please be with the men and women serving both here and abroad who are protecting us. Be with them and their families. Amen.
Thank you, Councilman Stipp, for those words. We are all here this evening. So let's go into the communications. We have 3 communication items tonight. We're first going to start off with a presentation from Dr. Betsy Hartgrove, the superintendent of Avondale Elementary School District. She will present an update on the recent activities and the accomplishments throughout the district. Welcome.
Right click? Okay, perfect. Hi, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Incredibly excited to be here tonight to share with you kind of what we would call the huge successes in Avondale Elementary School District, as well as our continued growth and movement. So to get started, I just want to share with everyone the mission of Avondale Elementary School District. So in Avondale, every child, and this is something that we review in all of our meetings, every child will grow as a thinker, problem solver, and a communicator to pursue a future without limits. What that really means to us is that when our students leave Avondale, whether it's they transfer to another school, they move on to high school, we know they're going on to college and onto their future dreams, that no matter what happens in Avondale, they will go and be competitive, that they can look back on the foundations of the work that they've done with us within our schools and our extracurricular opportunities that we're able to offer for them, that they can go and explore their dreams in any way that they want to. So the next portion and the next pieces we'll be talking about are the successes that have occurred over this past year and the continued growth that we plan. We've demonstrated incredible success relative to AZ Merit and how we get measured in the state of Arizona relative to student growth. So if you take a look at this chart, we demonstrated higher than expected growth, higher than the state growth in ELA and in math in our district. Our students were able to demonstrate that through participation on the AZ Merit and the work that we do in our classes daily. What you have in front of you demonstrates other districts comparable in size and in area and in population. And if you look at Avondale's bar on the left-hand side, we've demonstrated phenomenal growth. That is our ELA, and this is our math. So you see other growth in other areas and across the state, tiered up 1 or 2, maybe remain static. In Avondale, we demonstrated phenomenal growth, and we believe we do that through exceptional teaching in our classrooms, incredible resources that we've been able to gather both through local support and through the state, as well as securing some incredible relationships with organizations and people that have allowed us to provide opportunities to our students that I think are unique to Avondale Elementary School District. So when we talk about growing thinkers, problem solvers, and communicators, it really needs to happen outside of the classroom and inside of the classroom. And so we believe that we've really harnessed the strength in our classrooms, and what we continue to do is grow those outside of the classroom opportunities. This picture right here represents one of our chief science officers who was able to go to Washington, D.C. last year, and it didn't just stop there, because then he secured his own relationship with the White House by reaching out to President Obama and the Office of Science and Technology to be able to bring together an incredible opportunity for our community, for our children, that we believe, quite frankly, will become an opportunity that will play out across the United States. If the council and the mayor would allow, we do have Sage here who has just 1 minute to share with you about this opportunity coming up. Would that be okay?
Yes.
Wonderful.
So when I was there, because they asked me like months ago, they're on their website, they had a flyer that had something about how can you make STEM better in your area and what ideas do you have for us? So I said something about a technology field trip at a technology company to have the company show us what their company's all about, and it was just real basic. And a few months later, after my first DC trip for the chief science officers, they asked me to come back and present the idea to the Office of Science and Technology Policy. And that idea, now that it's fleshed out, I have over 11 companies guaranteed to do a field trip at the end of March to take to 100 students, middle or high school, to their facility to explain what their company's all about, like some job qualifications and what areas they need to go to in their future so they know exactly what types of things they need to study for to get these jobs and all sorts of things. And we're still trying to get a couple more companies for every student, because the Chief Science Officer program's been helping boost all the companies to the Chief Science Officer, so the CSOs would help get their schools to go to these companies, so it's not just one person's work. And if there's any other companies, anyone knows a technology company in the crowd, please email me later and just say you want to join, and I'll send you a email asking what kind of things you need to have set up so I can get the information out to the students.
Well, thank you so much. We need a little round of applause.
So Sage is a perfect example of what it means to take it to the next level and talk about communication. He has secured those 11 companies really single-handedly by emailing them, calling them, wrapping back around. He has an entire plan of communication to be able to bring this to fruition, and I feel very strongly that he will. The Chief Science Officer program is not just a program in the state of Arizona anymore. As a matter of fact, through our STEM community of practice, we are one of 27 communities in the United States that come together twice a year. The Chief Science Officer program is being piloted in 4 additional states.
Wonderful.
It is absolutely phenomenal. But Arizona is a leader, and Avondale Elementary School District has the highest number of Chief Science Officers per district per school. Very excited for that. In addition, another highlight from this year was having Governor Doug Ducey come out and be able to explore what's happening in our school sites. I think one of the greatest opportunity for anyone, truly anyone, to be able to understand what happens in education is to come into the classroom. Just spend 20 minutes. That's really all it takes. And actually just spend 5 minutes with any one of our students like Sage or like Michael who's here or Serenity who's here, who would be able to express what's happening with them in the classroom. And so Governor Ducey was able to spend a full hour. So you can imagine, actually he was there a little bit longer because he didn't want to leave. I mean, it was just amazing things happening. But he was able to explore Socratic seminar with our junior high students. He was able to go into our coding class where we really are making some groundbreaking work relative to our students with computer science, kindergarten through 8th grade, in the classroom during the school day. Absolutely phenomenal. And he was also able to see the Read Better, Be Better program. And that is a program that is in all of our school sites to help students to grow, their 3rd grade students grow in their reading comprehension, and to help our 7th and 8th grade students as leaders and mentors. So it's an incredible pairing of students growing together, both academically and also personally. And it is absolutely incredible. And again, 5 minutes in there and you will be sold. So we would love to invite anyone out to be able to spend just 20 minutes in our classrooms, and I think you'll be blown away. You know about our mission, thinkers, problem solvers, and communicators, right? Well, this is something that we believe is really going to push our students to the next level. So we can do it in the classroom, we can do it incredibly abstractly. This is a concrete way for children to engage with thinking, problem solving, communicating with one another while trying to get out of an escape room. So has anyone been to a puzzle room? We have one? No? Oh, okay, well, you need to. And actually, it'd be really great to bring the council through so we can talk about this.
Right.
Essentially, what happens is you go into this room, and you're in there for an hour. You have a variety of puzzles that you need to work through, some mathematical, some words, some actual physical puzzles that you need to put together in order to be able to process your way through the escape room. And not only did we do that, we did that obviously with an Egyptian theme, because Egypt is one of the concepts that's taught in 6th grade. This was built for our gifted students across our district. Our intention is that all of our gifted students go through, and then we challenge our gifted students to develop and build their own. It is phenomenal. So keep that in mind for an opportunity to grow together as a council, because it certainly brings team building, leadership.
We'll come for our team building in that.
Okay.
We'll post it and we'll be there.
Excellent. I'm excited. It'll be very fun. We also want to share with you those extracurricular opportunities. So when 2008 happened, and not that I want to keep reliving that, but that was hit a lot of districts incredibly hard. And one of the first things that had to go in a lot of districts were arts, were computers, were PE, music, choral, band, etc. And I'm incredibly proud to say that in Avondale Elementary School District, that wasn't on the table, because we felt so strongly that this is an avenue for our children to be able to explore their gifts and talents in a different way. And so not only did we not let it go, we actually built it. And we grew it, and we got stronger and stronger. 3 years ago, we had 0 strings. Now we have 12 students who engage in strings on a daily basis, and they are absolutely incredible. And you want to talk about building poise and confidence and persistence, that, wow, you really have to practice that to get good and to be able to sit in front of a group of people. And that group of young students sat in front of our governing board meeting in December and were able to show us their expertise in the area of music. Copper Trails is focusing on that fine arts piece. Desert Thunder is building a bilingual program that is absolutely phenomenal to watch our children engage in that. And we have our arts, we have our music, our band, our strings, our orchestra, our choirs. We have our after-school competitive athletics, that all are pieces that feed into our mission to ensure that our children are able to be thinkers, problem solvers, and communicators. I know this council is familiar with the VEX program, because we stood here last year, and in fact, I still probably need to apologize for throwing balls at you. I think Chief was ready to jump right up here. What? They're aimed at them. The VEX program has just been an amazing opportunity for our children to grow and develop as those problem solvers who are able to take something from nothing. Literally, here's a box of pieces, and to be able to win a world competing robot. And we had 3 teams who went to Worlds last year. I anticipate we'll easily have 3 teams, if not more. We have taken our VEX robotics from 22 teams to 36 that compete regularly. We last year, and we'll go this year for our middle school competition, our state's competition will still be down at Microchip. The elementary competition for states will be at Copper Trails this year. And you have the flyer in front of you, so hopefully you can mark your calendars to be able to come out and celebrate that. And I also want to thank Ms. Somen, who is our lead of our VEX robotics in our district. She has just taken it to that next level of an incredible foundation built by Corey McCoy. I also want to point out, this picture just isn't a picture of a robot. It's pretty cool, right? The perspective, etc. This is a picture taken by one of our students. So as you are aware, we're in our 5th iteration of the Kids at Hope Art Walk. Next Tuesday night, we'll be unveiling this year's images. As you know, the students are given cameras, kindergarten through 8th grade. The only instructions to them is take something that you believe represents Kids at Hope. So whether that's the pledge, whether that is an ACE, someone who supports them, whether that is a treasure hunter, one of our teachers who's always trying to find the talents and skills in them, whether it's a faith-based opportunity that they have, and someone at home maybe that pushes them to be the very best that they possibly can be. That's what Kids at Hope is about. They can be able to envision their future, just like Sage said a minute ago, to be able to picture themselves in a STEM opportunity in the future right here in our community. That's what Kids at Hope does for us in our district, and our kids are able to articulate that through images. So please, next Tuesday night, you have a flyer right with you. We'd love to have you there, 5:30 to 7. Want to share with you, these are just 2 examples of some amazing things that are happening in our district. Mr. Wayne Deffenbaugh is a Rodale Exemplary Principal semifinalist. We'll find out over this next month. if he moves on to the next level. I will tell you, certainly he deserves it. He is absolutely phenomenal and is a leader in our district and across the state. And then we have Jared O'Leary, Teacher of Excellence for Computer Science. That is a Computer Science Teacher Association Award. It's a National Science Foundation Award. 18 people in the world were selected for this award. Last month, he was awarded $10,000 and obviously the prestige of being a leader in teaching computer science, and he's our computer science lead in our district. So just phenomenal things happening. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, and I am just absolutely amazed by this and the feedback I've gotten from teachers, we have teachers as parade marshals of the Fiesta Bowl parade. I don't know if you're aware of who the marshal was last year of the Fiesta Bowl. Randy Johnson. So when they called and said, you know, and we're like, oh, this is really cool, this is exciting. They're like, no, this is like really cool and really exciting. But what the best part of it is that we're celebrating teachers. We're celebrating excellence of what's happening in our classrooms. And we had 10 out of the 40 slots for teachers there. And if you look super closely at the buses, they were ours. So just incredible opportunity to be able to continue to celebrate Avondale Elementary School District. And then I hope you all heard about breaking the world record. We tell our kids every single day they can do anything. Every single day that there's nothing in the world that can possibly stop them. And now we have over 3,000 students who can say, we broke the world record. I'm a world record holder. You can't take that away. So when we do say you can do anything, our kids know they can because they've demonstrated it. So those are the successes that we've had. And I will put GEARS into that success. GEARS is a program that we were approached from a district from back east. And that district sought a school district in Arizona to be able to partner with and to be able to enter a relationship with. And they specifically called on Avondale to be able to engage this opportunity with them. And basically what it is to be able to formalize the exceptional practices that we have in Avondale and marry them to the exceptional practices that are happening in demonstrating incredible growth in the eastern part of the United States, and to be able to demonstrate that through collaborative efforts, through building strong teacher leaders who are engaged with high levels of professional development, who are working collaboratively with one another, not just at their school site, but across the district, that we will have phenomenal results. And I will tell you, at our mid-year scores, relative to Galileo, relative to last year, and you already saw our growth from last year, we anticipate surpassing that. Absolutely phenomenal opportunity for us, and I think just really recognizes the growth in the amazing group of educators that we have in the Avondale Elementary School District. I also think that, as demonstrated by the community passage with the highest percent passage of an override we've ever had, just a huge thank you to our community, because I think it demonstrates that we're going in the right direction, that our community is behind us. And lastly, I would just like to share with you an example of what I really mean when I say we're in a relationship with Goodyear. Over winter break, literally I think 3 days, it may even have been 2 days before literally Christmas Day, so that was the Friday, right? I received an email request to get in touch with our city chiefs, both of Avondale and of Goodyear. So it was a very time-sensitive piece that we needed a piece of information incredibly fast. I will tell you, I sent out that email. Within 20 minutes, I had a phone call. Within 22 minutes, I had the information that I needed to be able to action this incredible opportunity for Avondale Elementary School District, for the 6 out of the 9 schools in the Avondale Elementary School District who live in Goodyear, was able to happen because we have such a wonderful relationship with the leaders of our district, with our chief. Thank you so much. Appreciate it greatly. Because it's those relationships that help us to be able to make sure that our children grow as thinkers, problem solvers, and communicators. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Well, first off, let's give a round of applause for that one. Council, I'm going to give you a moment. Comments? Councilman Pizzillo?
I appreciate everything you do, Dr. Hargrove. You know how we all feel about, supporting the school districts and the schools. But I tell you, I really enjoyed that time when you had the robotics, when we got to see what the kids could do. I was amazed, not just what they could do, but their enthusiasm was off the charts, trying to show us how this worked. Now, obviously, I don't have the techniques they had to be able to pick up the variety of things with robotics and do all the little things they had to do to be graded on when they went national. But I saw in there you've got something. I assume we're going to have something similar to that again, because I really enjoyed watching him, and especially just the enthusiasm was just overwhelming. Several of us went there to see that. That was fantastic. And continue your great work, which you will. Thanks.
Vice Mayor?
There's not too much after he says thank you to add to that, but thank you for all the great work and all the great programs you do. I mean, the kids benefit, the community benefits, because that's truly the future. And I'm sure not only will we see maybe an Avondale Elementary graduate with the president, who knows, we may see him as a president or her. So I'm very impressed, and the young man that was here, I was very impressed with him too. That's the way to do it. You keep asking.
Right.
So thank you.
Councilman Osborne.
Dr. Hargrove, thank you always for your passion and your energy. Please send our thanks to all of your staff and all your teachers and your principals. I'm so thrilled about Wayne. I will have to send him a note and wish him luck. I think that's exciting. And also your computer science teacher. That's great news. It's a joy and it's a pleasure to have your district in our city. Thank you so much.
Councilman Campbell.
Well, you know how much we love your district, and you know how supportive we are. So I can't add anything else, but I do recall when you were welcoming your teachers back, what a great time we had that day that set the tone for the entire year. And I loved every single minute of it, and I was there until you told us we had to leave. And I was hoping to win a card, but I didn't. I gave my card to someone else, and they won, which was even better. But we do thank you for all that you do. You know that all you have to do is pick up the phone. We're as close as that. We'll do anything we can to support you and your children. And we want to thank you, your parents, your staff, for taking such wonderful care of our kids.
Councilman Holler.
Well, Betsy, I'm so glad to know you. I'm so glad you're here. And Sage, your enthusiasm did come across, and your thoughtfulness and your original ideas are absolutely, they mean a great deal. They inspire others to do likewise. Don't lose that fire in your belly, because it will serve you well and be a great source of excellence as you go through your life. And I'm sure, Betsy, that when you look at your students as they come across, and that you too are humbled, that somehow your passion has ignited that kind of fire. So thank you for being you. Sage, thank you for being you. And we wish you so much success as you go through your life.
Councilman Stipp.
Well, I get the role of being the last one, and I'm always the first one, so I wanted to remain quiet. I shouldn't say always, but there's nothing else to say, obviously. The passion that we bring as a city to encourage our schools is very small in comparison to what you bring, obviously, as a district superintendent. So thanks for being part of that, and thanks for engaging with us, and we just look forward to a great 2017.
And he's not the last person. I'm always the last person. It's sad in my heart tonight. I kept thinking, if this could have been a big speaker that was covered over our city, and the citizens heard what our students are doing, the things they've accomplished, because there's a negative conversation out there about Arizona and education. And I'm continually telling them, but our schools are different. And that's why our economic development is using our schools when companies come in. We've actually had a paper created for it to prove that we do have good teachers in this area, and we have good schools. So I'm always a little saddened because I hear so many great things each time you do a presentation. And I thank you and I thank the teachers because these are underpaid professionals. And yet they are making that one more step to educate these young people. So again, thank you. We enjoy it. We look forward to this. And we're looking forward to next year to see what new accomplishments you've made. And I want another round of applause for this school.
Thank you. And just before I step away, if I could ask everyone from Avondale Elementary School District to please stand. We have students, we have staff, we have parents who are here to celebrate.
Great. Well, stand up. We'll do one more time. The next item is communication items and a proclamation, proclaiming January Care Enough to Get in the Way month. Lauren Valencia, Assistant to the Mayor, will present.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mayor, as you know, you have issued a proclamation declaring January, the month of January, as Care Enough to Get in the Way month. And so we've invited Jennifer Rogers on behalf of Leadership West to join you today to tell you a little bit more about that. Once she speaks, we'll have you come down here, issue the proclamation formally, and do a couple photos if that's okay.
Mayor and members of the council, thank you so much for having us here. I see a couple of familiar Leadership West faces, so we're very, very happy as Leadership West alumni to be here tonight. Again, I'm Jennifer Rogers with GCON in my professional world, and I'm going to introduce you to our team. This is Dr. Lily DeBlue. She is the superintendent of Pendergast Schools, class 22 alumni. This is Gina Godby here. She's a prosecuting attorney for Maricopa County Attorney's Office, also class 22, and this is our project. We're talking about the conference, and we have solicited the help from our good friend and uber professional. This is Larry Tracy. He's also a Leadership West graduate and alumni of class 21 and is on behalf of Youth for Youth, and this is our conference. So we wanted to thank you so much for being a part of this conference by proclaiming this as Care Enough to Get in the Way month. We really know that we're going to be able to make an impact on students, teachers, parents, and even police officers' lives with this conference and really adding all those components so no one's pointing fingers anymore. Instead, we're all communicating together of how to make our communities and schools safer. So we appreciate it, again, being here and all of your support. Thank you.
Oh, wait, no, we'll take a picture of all of us, okay? All right, so just gather around. So, first of all, thank you so much. Thank you for contacting me and letting us have this opportunity.
May I videotape you doing it because we want to put a video?
Oh, sure, let's hope I don't cough in between because I'm recovering from a cold, so. Okay, thanks, Michelle.
We're going to show it to the kids.
Oh my goodness, I have to do this right, don't I? Oh my goodness. All right, Care Enough to Get in the Way month, January 2017. Whereas Care Enough to Get in the Way is an effort seeking to inspire student leaders to identify solutions to make their schools and learning environments safer, while also solving student issues like bullying, cyberbullying, drug addiction, depression, and others. Whereas the Care Enough to Get in the Way movement, it presents an ideal opportunity to bridge gaps between our local community, our government, and our law enforcement in a positive way. Whereas our local schools are facing unnecessary tragedies because warning signs placed on social media or observed in person are not being reported as serious threats or cry for help. And whereas our youth should be empowered to report distressing posts on social media or comments overheard to law enforcement or school representatives, where more than 700 students from 55 West Valley schools will be the first group to learn, to promote, to help, and spread the message. That is okay to care enough to get in the way, to speak up, to stand up, and take back their schools and communities to save a life. Now, therefore, it be resolved that I, Georgia Lord, Mayor of the City of Goodyear, Arizona, do proclaim the month of January 2017 as Care Enough to Get in the Way month, and encourage schools, students, and parents educators, police departments, and community organizations to join together in dealing with this serious issue. Given under my hand in these free United States of the city of Goodyear, Arizona, on the 9th day of January 2017, and to which I have caused the seal of the city Goodyear to be affixed and have made this proclamation public. Thank you very much. Let me give you this.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Now we can do a picture. All right. Are we kind of sideways? Is that how we're doing this? Oh, wait, let me take these glasses off. Yeah, where are we looking? Okay, all right.
Thank you so much, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
We're at 4.3. The last communication item is an update on the changes to the Goodyear Citizens Academy, now known as Goodyear Lead, and an overview of the program's coursework and content. All right, Lauren, you're up again.
Thanks, Mayor and Council. Well, we are so excited to share a little bit of information with you tonight about the rebranding of the Goodyear Citizens Academy. We're officially calling it Goodyear Lead. LEAD stands for Leadership, Enrichment, and Development. Christina Plant, Dawn Breed, Rob Bohr, and I have been working for the last several months on this rebranding effort. We're very excited, and you've received all this information in a previous iteration of the weekly manager memo that you received from Brian. But we did want to present this to you one last time to make sure that everyone had all the information and answered all your questions. So the objective of Goodyear Lead is to leverage civically-minded resident interest in the city to prepare individuals for non-elected or elected leadership roles, foster community-based problem solving, and support neighborhood self-reliance through civic engagement. So it's very similar to the Citizens Academy objective, obviously, but we're really hoping that we can help Goodyear residents to better understand and appreciate how the city operations actually work on a day-to-day basis, and also kind of understand the resources that are available to them from a city perspective so that they can solve problems in their own neighborhoods and communities as well. So we also want to help them build relationships among other city leaders and work together to kind of have those leadership skills that make someone prepared for future service like boards and commissions and other opportunities. So the city's Goodyear Lead program is obviously no cost. It's a 12-week program completely free of charge. It's going to begin tomorrow evening, and it'll run through mid-March. It'll feature presentations from various city departments, and it'll give kind of a rundown of citywide operations. Each course will include instruction, dinner, and networking for participants, and participants must live or work within the city of Goodyear and be at least 18 years of age. We did cap the number of participants at 40, but we received over 50 applications. There was a lot of interest, so we're really pleased with the turnout. A few of the new features that distinguish this program from the former Citizens Academy include core coursework and elective coursework, which will allow the class, each individual class year by year, to kind of identify specific areas of interest for each of them. It'll also include an attendance policy that requires participation in at least 18 of the 20 designated course hours, and any unexcused absences for more than 2 hours of excused absences will make the participants ineligible for alumni status. So that brings me to alumni status, which wasn't really a component of the Citizen Academy previously, but it allows the LEAD alumni to participate in all future LEAD coursework, refresher coursework, special tours, events, and other features. The alumni may also be targeted for board and commission recruitment in the future. Our hope is really to educate a population of people and develop city advocates that are going to be interested in service in the future, kind of educate them better about where they might serve, how they might serve, and help them to better understand their own interests in terms of city service. So the core coursework or core programming includes government overview, which will be tomorrow night, an overview of public financing, an overview of the Public Works Department, an overview of the People Master Plan, and the Development Continuum, which will include development services, engineering, and economic development. Here's a list of our elective options for the coursework. So participants will vote no later than week 5 on which elective coursework they'd like to participate in weeks 7 through 10. We're kind of hoping that by week 5, our participants will have an idea of where their interests are. They'll vote, and then that will determine what the coursework for 7 through 10 weeks look like. I think it's important to note also that we understand that each class, year over year, their interests will probably change. So we'll probably offer some of these one year, maybe not the next year. And this list may grow, may reduce, just depending on what we observe in terms of popularity, in terms of these interests and areas. So that's kind of our overview for you. We're very excited, and we hope that you'll join us for any of the coursework that you're interested in. Each of you have a memo that we've given. It was a condensed version was included in Brian's manager memo a few weeks ago, but the memo has the calendar, the location, kind of an overview of the coursework. So please feel free to attend all or any of them that you're interested in.
Thank you very much. It
Any
is thrilling
questions?
and exciting. Anybody on the council want to ask a question on this quickly? Well, I think that's just going to be a more advanced group than a document or a curriculum than we had for the prior one. So
That's our hope.
I'm looking forward to seeing the end result of that. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you for your support. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you have ours all the way. All right, now is the time for citizens who would like to address the City Council on any non-agenda item. Do we have any cards?
No, Mayor.
Is there anybody in the audience tonight that would like to speak? All right, well then let's go on to the consent agenda. Will the city clerk please read the consent agenda, items 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3 by title only, please?
Item 6.1, approved draft minutes of a special meeting held on December 5th, 2016, a regular meeting held on December 12th, 2016, and a special meeting and a regular meeting held on December 19th, 2016. Item 6.2, approve rescheduling the March 13th, 2017 regular council meeting to March 6, 2017 due to several council members attending the National League of Cities Conference. Item 6.3, adopt resolution number 17-1777, approving development agreement for Estrella Parcel 3.14 regarding the development of approximately 14.42 acres, providing authorization and direction to take actions and execute documents necessary to carry out intent of resolution, and the development agreement for Estrella Parcel 3.14 and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Does anyone from the public wish to remove an item on the consent agenda? Council? Does anybody on the council wish to remove an item? All right, then could I please have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion by Councilman Stipp and a second by Councilman Pizzillo. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Stipp?
Aye.
Councilmember Holman?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Loretano?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
All right, we're going on to the business, and I'll remind council to refrain from asking questions until the staff presentations are completed, and there's a motion on the table. So we're going to start at 7.1, which is a public hearing to consider the request for a use permit for a convenience use restaurant drive-through in the Centera crossings. Open public hearing. Planner 3, Karen Craver, to present. Karen?
Thank you, Mayor. The subject property is Pad 3 of Centera Crossings. Pad 3 is located just south of the new ER building, right at the corner of Van Buren and Estrella Parkway. There will be 2 direct access points off of Estrella and an internal drive connecting up to Van Buren. The building on Pad 3 will include an 1,800 square foot restaurant with drive-through, a second 1,800 square foot restaurant with both restaurants sharing a patio. There will also be 3,800 square feet of retail space. There will be 65 parking spaces and approximately 9 queuing spaces. There will be significant on-site landscaping. The architecture, materials, and colors of the building are in compliance with the Centera Crossing design guidelines, and they are also compatible with the existing ER building. The use permit request is for the drive-through lane at the one restaurant, and the applicant is proposing that that restaurant be a 24-hour operation. Oops, sorry. There we go. The restaurant with drive-through is compatible with the ER, with the additional planned retail at Centera Crossing, and with planned multifamily at Centera Crossing. It will not be detrimental to surrounding uses because of significant buffering and distance between uses. To date, we have received no inquiries from adjacent property owners or other members of the public, and staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 6-0, are recommending approval. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Karen. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Right. Then could I please have a motion and a second? I have to close the public hearing. Could I please have a second, a motion and a second to approve the request for a use permit for the convenience use restaurant with a drive-through on the 1.83 acre Pad 3 and Centera Crossings mixed-use development located in the southeast corner of Australia Parkway and Van Buren Street. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion from Councilman Holman and a second from Councilman Campbell. Open for council discussion. Councilman Bazzillo.
Anything, any ideas of what possibly may be going on this particular property?
Yes, I've been asked not to give the specific user, but it's not a Burger King, it's not a McDonald's, it's not a Taco Bell, it's a much smaller, more...
Something that operates for 24 hours.
The contract hasn't been signed yet, and they asked me not to say, but it's...
Is the entire area going to be locked down, or is it they just have one now, or do they have the entire, entire project they're getting ready to sign an agreement on? I assume there's more than one that's going in there.
Correct. The restaurant with the drive-through on the north part of the building there, and that's the one that's, pretty much locked down. The contract's about to be signed, and then I believe they are speaking to another restaurant user that will share that patio between the two units. I don't know about retail.
When do you think they may start breaking ground?
They're very anxious to submit their construction CDs, so as soon as, if council approves the use permit and the site plan has gone through the review process, they'll be submitting their CDs.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Osborne.
Karen, just so I understand this connectivity, the aerial photo exhibit shows the subject property, dignity, health, and then how you have this. Is that almost like a corridor that's connecting these two pads together? See the blue, you have that.
Yeah, there's a roadway that comes in here, in between the hospital and where this new building will be. And it continues on up and goes up here along.
So that's a roadway that you're showing by
Correct.
having that. I see. Okay. And then directly to the east of this area, rest of that, that's just, this whole area is all PID, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. So I'm ready to vote on it then. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's go to 7.2. It's on business to consider a preliminary plat for Estrella Mountain Ranch Partial 7.5. Hello, Alex.
Hello.
Planner 2, Alex Latinsky to present.
Good evening, Mayor, members of Council. Happy New Year. This parcel is parcel 7.5 in Estrella. It is on the southwest corner of Calistoga and Estrella Parkway, or northwest, depending on how you look at it. The parcel is located within the Montecito PAD in Estrella. On the west side, let's see. To the west, we have Estrella Parkway, and then future Estrella part further down. To the north, we have parcel 7.1 that has not been platted. And then we have Bougainvillea Park just to the northeast, or northwest, excuse me. Parcel 7.7 sits over here, and down below we have parcel 7.6. The entire parcel is about 17.93 acres. On that parcel, we'll have 65 single-family detached lots and 8 tracts. On the 8 tracts will account for about 28.6% of open space. This tract in the center is planned to have a tot lot and a ramada. There's 2 points of entry into the parcel. This one that connects to Sandy Road is the main point of entry. When you enter off of Estrella Parkway along Calistoga, you can make a left turn into Sandy Road. There's no median break here, so it's only right in, right out. Parcel 7.5 is approximately 3 miles from Fire Station 182, and the response times range between 6 to 8 minutes. All technical requirements have been satisfied. On December 14th, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the preliminary plat unanimously. Staff recommends approval as well. This concludes my presentation, but if you have any questions, I'm available, and Pete Tyke is also here to answer.
Thank you, Alex. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Would anybody in the audience like to speak? Could I then have a motion and a second to approve the request for the preliminary plat for Estrella Mountain Ranch, parcel 7.5, subject to stipulation? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I heard a motion from Councilman Stipp and a second from Vice Mayor Loretano. Open for council discussion. Councilman Pizzillo.
It's not so much a question for you, but probably for the city attorney. And let me preface it by saying that one of our concerns, or at least one of my concerns, I'm not going to speak for everybody else, but I think they're all on the same page, was careful of the preliminary plats as we move forward until we address some of the fire service. Now, there are some things that aren't specifically addressed here, but is coming. And for whatever you can mention right now without talking too much out of school, could you add so that the public kind of knows what's kind of going on and where we are in this process?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. As we've previously indicated, we've been working over the last number of months with the development down there at AV Homes in Newland on a fire services agreement, and we anticipate bringing that agreement to council for formal consideration on January 23rd that will provide some funding for fire services in the Estrella community.
Thank you.
So just real quick, Mayor, in a summary is negotiations is kind
Generally,
of...
we're fairly concluded. We're tightening up the agreement, putting it in final form, and we'll bring it to council on the 23rd.
I just want to make sure we got that on record as we kind of move forward, because I know some of the residents in that area were kind of concerned, but we are moving forward on that issue. And we'll be before us, what,
again, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, let's go ahead and vote on this. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Alex. The next item is to consider adopting the 2017 City of Goodyear Legislative Agenda. Our Government Relations Manager, Rob Gore, to present. I want you to know, Rob, it said on here Governor, but I slashed it off and put governmental.
I don't want that promotion, so thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I appreciate the opportunity to present to you the 2017 State and Federal Legislative Agenda. It is that time of year again. So I know you all are pretty familiar with this process, but I'm just going to do a brief overview for those who may be listening or watching. Tonight, you'll have the opportunity to approve a resolution for the legislative agenda, the 2017 State and Federal Legislative Agenda. It provides some guiding principles that we'll go through tonight. They're sort of broad categories. So the hope and the intent is that most issues that we face throughout the legislative session, particularly at state level, fall under those categories. So your action tonight would really give us that guidance that we need to take a position on those issues. If something does come up that falls outside of those guiding principles that are part of the agenda tonight, we would always take those issues back on an independent basis to get your feedback on those as they come up. So tonight I am going to go through those guiding principles, but I'll do so using a lot of more specific examples of things that have come up in previous sessions, or also discussions that are taking place for this upcoming session, some things that we know are on the horizon and expect to be dealing with. So a little bit more related to the process itself. Tonight, assuming that you do approve the legislative agenda that defines those guiding principles, we've already been receiving legislation for the past several weeks before the session started, or even having discussions about from groups and organizations knowing some legislation that they're going to be looking to pass, as well as some draft legislation before the session. So we've already been, we'll take those bills as they come in, especially with today, the session beginning. The bills are already piling in, and we'll take those and analyze them and review them. Part of that is sharing them with the departments that they're most relevant to, getting their feedback and input as far as how they specifically would impact the city of Goodyear, and then using all of that information, as well as information from our weekly strategy meetings that I attend on Fridays down at the League of Cities and Towns, where we come together with all the cities and discuss the various bills that are out there and their comprehensive effects that they'll have on local governments, and strategize as a unit as far as how we want to tackle those things. So we take all of that information and form a position and act accordingly, whether that's just signing in support or opposition of the bill, or whether that's going down and meeting with legislators to really discuss a specific bill or a specific issue, or in some cases involving some of you to have those discussions, or whatever seems to be the most appropriate action related to the specific issue. So and then along the way, what I intend to do and hope that I've done in the past is keep you guys really informed and updated as far as those issues and where we're at with them, and the ones that really seem to be of key interest to cities, and where, what our position is, and making sure that you guys are aware of the things that are coming down the pipeline. And then along those lines, one thing that we've really started to stress is making sure that our residents and the community is aware of overall the legislative process and who to contact and how, and then also some key legislative issues as they come up. So on the government relations webpage, we have contact information. We have the links to see who your legislators are and how to go about contacting them, with some suggestions for how they do that. We also have information about state shared revenue, as obviously that's a key issue that we're always supportive of and always protective of. And now Lauren talked earlier about our new LEAD program. We're also doing some other community outreach type of initiatives, like the Goodyear Tom, the van, and we really want to use some of those tools as well to get out and talk about the legislative process and how they can be involved, and especially those folks that attend LEAD. They're probably a lot of them are active in civic issues by nature, so it'll be a great opportunity for us to involve some of them in the process as well. So today marked the first day of the new legislative session. As I'm sure you all saw or heard, Governor Doug Ducey provided his State of the State address this afternoon. So not a whole lot in the address that related specifically to cities and towns, which definitely isn't necessarily a bad thing. So we'll take that. With the November general election, we actually saw 24 new members elected to the House and Senate. So there's going to be a pretty large group of freshman legislators this year. Didn't affect our two districts so much. We didn't see as many changes. In Legislative District 13, we had Senator Shooter moved over to the House, so it's now Representative Shooter, and then Representative Montenegro moved over to the Senate, so it's now Senator Montenegro. And then in Legislative District 4, of course, we had Senator Pancrazzi did not run for re-election. She actually was elected to the Yuma County Board of Supervisors instead. So Representative Otando moved over to the Senate. Charlene Fernandez was reelected and is actually was voted in by her peers as the minority whip for the Democratic Party in the House. And then we have one newcomer, and that's Jesus Rebocava, who is the newcomer in LD4. So I'm sure we'll get to know him soon. I've already had a couple meetings with a few of our representatives. I have a couple more scheduled this week. So some of the issues I'll be talking about in a little bit, we were able to discuss already, and they've been supportive with us. Looks like, well, the Republicans will retain control of both the Senate and the House. The Senate, they have a 17-13 majority, and the House, they're at a 35-25 majority. As far as we talked a little bit about leadership with Charlene getting elected. As far as the Senate President, Steve Yarborough was elected by his peers, and he is from LD 17, which is the Chandler area. And Speaker of the House, J.D. Mesnard, also from the same district in the Chandler area. And then from the minority party, Kitty Hobbs is the Senate Minority Leader, and Rebecca Rios is the House Minority Leader. So to move into our guiding principles, and these are similar to past years. I know you were able to, you received Exhibit A, which is provides a little bit more background and description of these guiding principles, and we did change some of the language there, particularly with fiscal sustainability. We really wanted to keep. We added the protection of any dedicated funding stream and sources that could directly or indirectly affect local government. And the idea there obviously is a lot of different funds that have been sort of shifted around that may not on the surface seem like a huge impact to the cities, but it ends up indirectly taking away from other funding that we have come to depend on, and it can affect us that way. Obviously, a specific example from last year that really falls under both of these first two categories was Senate Bill 1487 that passed last year. As you know, Senate Bill 1487 was the bill that allows for any lawmaker to make a claim against any city that they feel, and doesn't have to be within their own district, but if they feel that a city is doing something that goes beyond their purview, I guess, and particularly if it's a violation of state law or the state constitution, they can then make a claim with the Attorney General's office. If the Attorney General's office agrees that it is a violation, they can actually withhold state share revenue. Well, the city does have a chance to redeem that action, whether it's reversing the ordinance or whatever that is. But if they fail to do so, they can actually withhold state shared revenue from the city. Obviously, it's concerning on several levels, with state shared revenue being such an important piece of all of our budgets and what services we're able to provide. So anytime that there's a threat or even opening the window to those funds and the use of those funds, whether it's as a threat or anything else, is obviously a concern. The one claim that has gotten the most attention as of late is Tucson, who was getting rid or taking confiscated firearms and destroying them, and there was a claim made that was outside of what they're able to do, and the Attorney General did find that they were in fact not in compliance with state law. So there's now Tucson has now filed a suit. So there is a lawsuit related to Senate Bill 1487, and the league is involved, and we'll be hearing a lot about that in the coming months. So fiscal other key issues related to fiscal sustainability, as I've probably talked with many of you, construction sales tax is probably going to be something that's looked at this year, and actually there's been a task force that was put together by the League of Arizona Cities and Towns, and Doug Sandstrom, our finance director, was one of the probably 25 or 30 city professionals that served on this task force, and it was really to just dive into our construction sales tax and how it functions, how it relates to other states, the things that it may be missing from different perspectives, whether that's the perspective of the general contractor, whether it's the perspective of the smaller tradesman, or whether it's the perspective of the municipality, what things are necessary, what components of construction sales tax don't seem to be working, what does seem to be working, and the intent, of course, is to come up with a solution that hopefully will work with everybody. So this group's been meeting, they've met quite a few times and had some lengthy meetings, and they've done a lot of research, and they've really come up with some various proposals or various options, I should say, as far as what could be, and now are with their final meeting coming up to really kind of determine what the most important components of those options and where we really are as a group, city-wise, related to construction sales tax before we really start working with the development community and those legislators who really want to make changes to the construction sales tax and working towards a compromise. Obviously, we've heard from the governor previous years about his desire to reduce income tax. It was not part of his address today, but it does seem to still be something that's discussed, and people seem to think that it's still going to be a priority of Governor Ducey's. So obviously that would be another thing to monitor and see what the effect would be for us, depending on what they're looking to do. Local authority, we already touched on a little bit with Senate Bill 1487. Another one that we saw last year was a bill related to community facilities districts. There was a group of developers that really wanted to change the governance structure of CFDs and actually make them so that the cities could not, if a developer wanted to create a CFD, a city had to allow that to happen. They didn't have an option. And then the city actually, two council members would still sit on the board, but they would actually be a minority of the board. The developer would really control the board. It was obviously cities had big issues with that, and that lack of local control, and it was got a lot of movement down there, and actually went all the way to the governor before he vetoed it, which we were extremely grateful for. But there is a couple different discussions that may be happening related to rekindling some CFD legislation. That same group of developers, even a larger group, has been working kind of, I guess, to determine what, if anything, similar to last year they want to bring forward. And, if they want to strip some of those pieces out that were extremely uncomfortable for cities, or what they want to do. But then there's a second group. The Home Builders Association actually was key in opposing the bill last year, and they've actually begun meeting with us as cities. They're looking at more cleanup legislation related to the process of creating a CFD rather than the governance and completely changing that. They're actually looking at more technical process changes. So we've actually been having those conversations and trying to work out a compromise as far as seeing if we can work that angle a little bit instead of the governance angle. Economic development. We have a key issue actually coming up that's specific to Goodyear this year. Our military reuse zone expires at the end of calendar year 2017. So we've we've already done our renewal that's allowed through statute. So by statute, you're given one designation and a renewal. So it looks as though we need to redesignate, so to speak, which looks like it will require likely a joint resolution of the legislature. And we've already had some conversations with some of our legislators. They're supportive and will do what they can to help. So we're optimistic that we'll do whatever it takes to get that done. But that will be a key thing specific to our city this year is making sure that we do whatever steps we need to do to make sure that the military reuse zone continues to be authorized beyond 2017. Beyond that, our other economic development tools like GIPLIT and others that we've come to depend on, as well as obviously any new programs, incentives, any tools that are out there that are proposed. Obviously, we'll be very involved in reviewing those and supporting whatever we feel will help us in attracting businesses to Goodyear. Military preservation, obviously we've become kind of a poster child nationwide for the state legislation we were able to pass years ago related to protecting encroachment around Luke Air Force Base and providing for the noise contours. And we'll continue to obviously work and make sure that those state laws are upheld and that we continue to do whatever we can to support the base that we know is such an important part of the West Valley and the state. Transportation, continuing to protect HERF revenue, making sure that Proposition 400 funds are left intact, and just making sure that there was a transportation infrastructure subcommittee that was formed prior to session, and they have put together a report which we're reviewing to see what may come out of that could affect cities, but we'll obviously closely monitor anything that is proposed related to that. And then water, don't know anything specific at this point. I know Councilmember Osborne is now serving on the AMWA board. We've actually worked real closely with AMWA, who has consultant Barry Aarons, who keeps us real up to date on what's going on in the water world and really does a good job of organizing the cities on any issues that come up related to water, and we always come together and make sure that we strategize and know where we're at as far as any of that legislation. So that's it as far as our state guidelines and that overview, and then just to move quickly into the federal level, which we're dealing with a little bit more of the unknown since we haven't seen. Obviously, we're in a transition period right now. As we all know, Donald Trump was elected as our 45th U.S. president, and his inauguration will be the 20th of this month. Speaker Paul Ryan and Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi were also both reelected. Some of the first 100 days of priorities from as far as the Trump administration is concerned, at least what we know or have heard about up to this point. Obviously, repeal and replace Obamacare has become one of the huge issues out there in the media. Obviously, he wants to appoint conservative judges to the bench. The withdrawal from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP, is something that's been discussed quite a bit. He's also discussed term limits for members of Congress, so it'll be interesting to see how that discussion goes. As far as Arizona, specifically for the federal elections, Senator John McCain reelected to his 5th term and likely his final term, defeating Democratic challenger Ann Kirkpatrick. And then in District 8, Trent Franks easily defeated his Green Party opponent, and Raul Grijalva in District 3, which also covers Goodyear, ran unopposed this current election. So some of the guiding principles, and I know many of you, we traveled to DC this past spring, and most of these topics will be familiar to you because most of them were some of the same things that we discussed while we were out there, and obviously as the new administration sets in and we start to see some of the things that the federal government's really working on. We'll definitely be putting together that information, and I know we'll have another trip this March that many of you will be attending, and as we meet with members of Congress, we'll be sure and have our list put together as it processes. But as far as transportation infrastructure, obviously we went years with kind of the Band-Aid extensions until finally in 2015 Congress was able to pass the FAST Act, the Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act. It was a fully funded $280 billion bill for highway improvement. And the fiscal year 17 president's budget also includes $68.73 billion to be allocated to improvement of state and local transportation. Economic development, we'll continue to work with representatives at the federal level, and we'll identify and support any opportunities that are out there. There is the Tax Code Termination Act, was referred to the House Rules Committee in January of 15, and then would actually terminate the Internal Revenue Code from 1986 after December 31st, 2019. So the thought or the intent is that would eliminate costs and time that local businesses face by trying to comply with the tax code. A little bit more specific one that's listed in our guiding principles is marketplace fairness. And the reason that we have something that's specific up there is because you guys passed a resolution 2 years ago specifically supporting marketplace fairness. So currently, the Marketplace Fairness Act has been referred to the Committee on Finance. No movement towards passage is expected anytime in the near future. If passed, what it would do is require all sellers that have more than $1 million in sales receipts to collect and remit sales and use taxes with respect to remote sales. So I know obviously that's something you all are familiar with, and again passed a resolution to support. So we keep that up there knowing that. Military preservation, we continue to work with the West Valley partners. All of the West Valley cities have a joint contract with Baker, Donaldson, Bierman, Caldwell, and Berkowitz, which is a Washington-based consulting firm. Continue to just monitor and protect the mission of Luke Air Force Base, and make sure that they are able to continue to lead the world in F-35 training. Obviously, we're growing towards our final allotment of the 6 F-35 training squadrons. Some good news. On December 23rd, the National Defense Authorization Act was actually signed into law by the President, and that specifically allocated $20 million to Luke Air Force Base for construction and land acquisition projects. Aviation, there was the FAA extension for fiscal year 17. It does introduce mandatory security measures that could impact local airports. It could increase security measures, tarmac delays, some costs may result. With the Phoenix Goodyear Airport, probably not a significant impact, since we're not a huge transportation hub for commercial airlines and that sort of thing, but just something to keep our eye on if there are any effects there. And then water, obviously, has always been something that we've kept a close eye on and discussed while we're down there on the Hill. There has been some bills just in the last month that have passed at the federal level that we really want to look more into and see if there could be some opportunities for us. The Water Resources Development Act of 2016 was passed in December, and the President recently signed it into law. This allows the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to provide technical assistance to non-federal interests for feasibility studies of proposed water resources development projects if the non-federal interests contracts to pay the cost of such assistance. So there is a cost associated with it, but it does look like it could open up some opportunities for some studies related to potential water infrastructure. And then also in December, just this past month, the Further Continuing and Security Assistance Appropriation Act of 2017 became law, and this bill provides additional funding for the EPA's Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Program account to provide loans for water infrastructure projects. So again, maybe some opportunity there. I know it's a little more focused on older water infrastructure, specifically issues like Flint, Michigan, where they're trying to go in and rebuild the aging infrastructure, but perhaps there might be something in there available for newer infrastructure as well. So hopefully I did not go on too long with that. I know some of you may have questions or concerns, but before I get to that, I just want to thank all of you. I know all of you have a lot of contact with our legislators, and you always do a great job of keeping me informed, and I really appreciate that, because the more information I have, the better. And we're always out there, kind of, things change constantly. We can be opposed to something one day, and the people behind it may make drastic changes, and we may come to a compromise, and the next day we're okay with it. So the more I can know about any conversations that are out there going on, the better for all of us, and I'll be sure to do the same. We do want to look at some opportunities for getting you all together with our representatives as well, and the ones I've spoken to so far this year have been really excited about that opportunity, frankly, and look forward to meeting with you, and we'll explore some ways of making that happen. Any questions?
Thank you, Rob. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Would anybody in the audience like to speak? Will the city clerk then please read Resolution 17-1775 by title only, please?
Adopt resolution number 17-1775, adopting a 2017 state and federal legislative agenda and providing authorization to city manager and his designees to take action.
Thank you. Could I have a motion and a second, please?
Second.
I heard a motion by Vice Mayor Loretano and a second by Councilman Holman. Open for council discussion. All right, let's start down here this time. Councilman Campbell.
I just have a couple of questions. Rob, do you know, is there going to be any additional movement on the impact fees? Are they going to try to do additional cleanup language? Is anyone talking about that?
I have not heard significant discussion, but it makes sense that would come up, because this is the first year. There was a moratorium where nobody could touch it for a couple of years after they passed, and it has now expired. So this is the first that there can be those discussions. So it very well could come up. I haven't heard any specifics yet.
Well, what makes me nervous is that there's talk about the construction sales tax, and that would tie in also with the impact fees. So we're just going to have to be really diligent. And I'm sure that the league is going to be doing that for us, but that could be very costly if they were to do amendments that would take some of that revenues away from us.
Yes, and there is that key correlation between the construction sale, with the difference between your construction sales tax rate and your regular tax rate. That difference goes to impact fees. So that is a part of that discussion as far as what any compromise related construction sales tax looks like, making sure that it doesn't affect that, or that that works that way.
Yeah, I do know. I've had a couple of conversations with other council members throughout the valley that we're not aware of someone doing it, but we're on the alert that some of the changes that were done by the initial bill went too drastic, too far in some areas, and they want to draw back on some of them. So they're thinking that they may do not a major revamp, but there may be quite a bit of discussion on that.
We'll definitely.
So thank you for watching.
We'll keep you informed as those discussions happen.
Any other comments? Councilman Osborne?
A couple of comments and a question. First of all, thank you. I appreciate you always working hard for us and keeping your ear out to what's going on. The guiding principles, I know that every one of these categories is near and dear to all of us, and I'm sure there's specifics in each one. But, what I see, I guess, going forward is going to be pretty interesting, especially on the federal level with the new president. And, at the end of this last year, the FAIR committee with NLC, we saw the Republican Party present a tax reform, and obviously didn't go anywhere. So it'll be interesting to see this next year. And with that proposal of tax reform will be, I know you have marketplace fairness within there, but I'm a little concerned about municipal bonds. I think that will be one that we need to watch for. I think that when it comes to water, whether it's federally or on the state level, things that we know we hear with AMWA, and especially with this coming up drought contingency plan, is something that, as a city and as a state, we'll all have to be collaborating and partnering. And so I think that relationship building on our city part is very important. And I know that the mayor and I had attended with the city of Phoenix and a few other key cities that are upstream and downstream, but making sure that, we are always being a partner, and whether it's something that's affecting Flagstaff or Prescott in the water arena, that we say, hey, we're behind you, because as they fight for forest health and tree thinning, we're here fighting for groundwater and the salt cedars and things like that. So we're all in it together, and so we just want to make sure that we're playing nicely in the sandbox, so to speak, right? But the one question I did have, you mentioned that the military reuse zone had to be reapplied for, or how long does that actually last? I mean, when you said this was our final, explain that, because once that final is over, then what? What does that mean?
So, Mayor, Councilmember Osborne, that's a good question. So it actually used to be you could do a 5-year designation and then a 5-year renewal. They extended that. So our first designation, I think, was 2002, and then somewhere in between there and 2006, they changed the statute, so it's actually a 10-year designation with a 10-year renewal. So in 2007, we got our 10-year renewal from our 5-year designation. So we got our 10-year renewal. The 10-year renewal is now up. The way the statute now. Granted, we're one of only 2 of these in the state, so this isn't something that comes up a lot. So that's why it's sort of hard to get solid answers to some of these questions, because it's just not something that's encountered a lot. But the way it appears to work, I mean, it's just a matter of redesignating, which would be another 10 years with a 10-year renewal on the end of that. It just has some different requirements for the designation rather than just the renewal. But I mean. There's no limit as far as how long the zone can last. It's just that you have to go back for either a renewal or an authorization for that.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Pizzillo.
Yeah, I really appreciate all the effort you put in here, Rob. Once the legislators start passing bills, it would very, very helpfully, probably weekly, on anything that negatively impacts us. And if you just a little synopsis as far as potential. Well, is it, look like something that'll pass or not pass? That's very helpful. But big concern is every year they come up with a bill, and that's why hopefully we will stay on top of this. It tends to hit our general fund in some way. And I'm sure Doug is going to keep an eye out there for construction sales tax. But the one thing that really got me when I got here in 87, because I was part of that Model City Tax Code Commission that came up with this, is I was impressed with Arizona because it was a gross receipts tax. They keep talking about it like a sales tax. They're 2 different animals, all right? They had the purest and the cleanest form of sales tax, which was gross income less a deduction plus a rate. And then over the years, they have kind of ripped it to pieces and put all of these exemptions in and et cetera. But over that time, a lot of cities rely on that construction sales tax and that gross receipts. So I hope they never try to turn that into a true sales tax like sales tax state do at the end, the purchase of the end use or the end use of tangible personal property, because that would kind of destroy our capital infrastructure, our capital funding source. So please keep us informed on that, where it's going. I'm hoping it doesn't get there. I'm hoping they may want to tweak it a little bit to maybe get a larger deduction or whatever, but we rely so heavily on there, just like the rental tax they tried to get us last year, which I hope does not come back again. We're pressed for just trying to meet some of the day-to-day operational needs. What we don't need is the state hitting our general fund. So please let us know how that goes. And I appreciate everything you're doing to keep us up to speed. Thanks.
Any other comments? All right, let's take a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Stipp?
Aye.
Councilmember Holman?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Loretano?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you. Well, we're at the information items. Anybody on the council have comments or commendation reports on current events? All right, then I'm going to turn it over to City Manager.
Mayor and Council, in terms of follow-up, nothing that there were some items asked of Rob that he will be following up on and monitoring that he covered in his presentation, include municipal bonds at the federal level, construction sales tax at the state level, drought contingency, and also protecting the revenues as it relates to state shared revenues as well, could be income tax. He will be providing notices on a regular basis. A lot of the times that does come through the league. But those were the follow-ups I had. The one question I had was a reference to an escape room exercise during the presentation by Dr. Hargrove. I wasn't sure if you wanted us to find out a little more about that or not. It was just...
We only have one no. Are you interested? No. I said I saw somebody go no, so...
Yeah.
I'm just looking for, I'm not looking for a vote, I'm just looking like, all right, it looks like the majority are, we'll leave one at home.
You want to find out more information?
One or two. Yes, please.
Yes, okay. And that's all I had for follow-up. I do have, after council inquiry of manager, I do have a couple of news items, if you will.
Right, thank you. So, any Councilman Pizzillo.
Future items, is that next or?
Yes, would you just give me a moment and I will do it? Okay, all right. So we're finished with that other item. So does anyone have any future agenda items?
I have an inquiry. Is that future agenda?
Yeah, I'll let you do that. Go ahead.
Okay. I just have a question. We've been hearing some blasting up around the street. Do we know where that's coming from at all, or like late at night, no one seems to know?
Blasting.
I'm looking at our public safety, the fire chief and police chief, and I see their heads shaking no. And I heard them when I was hiking up in the Estrellas as well, and I could not tell from where it was coming
from. A couple of
from.
them late at night, and they sound like someone's blasting. Didn't know if you knew if a builder was blasting up there or something.
We are not aware of anything, and we'll keep our ear to the ground, not literally, but we will see if we can find out what's happening there.
It happened in Palm Valley also.
In Palm Valley as well?
It did. Yeah.
Canyon Trail. So it's happening all over.
It's
so we'll find out.
What's going on?
You don't
Don't
suppose
know.
it's something
Don't know if it's
deep
from the
in
air or
the
the
earth
ground.
that's happening, and that's the sound that's coming out.
We know it's not from the sea, so that's good news.
Wow.
Someone needs to say, excuse me.
Okay. Any other? Councilman Pizzillo.
On future agenda items, we all got a legal opinion from our attorney a while back about the incentives on development fees, development agreements. And I think it's something worth pursuing in a work session, and here's the reason why. We have our current revenue, I guess operational revenue or general fund, I believe is going to be outpaced by our demand for our service levels. So if there's a way that we can kind of speed up our revenue, our sales tax, and increase the base with some type of incentives or tools to the economic development that's set in stone, so it's not something that's ongoing and has no limit and has a period of time, because we want to create an incentive to speed this process up a little bit. I think it's worth exploring. And, I appreciate, because that was one of the questions I asked of our attorney, and I appreciate, and it seems like we can do it within certain parameters, but I think it's something that's worth just exploring as a work session to see if the Register Council has any interest in it.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Councilman Stipp. Anybody else support that?
That was Pizzillo.
I support it. Oh, did I say that? Oh, sorry. Well, he deserves it. We've talked about this subject over and over again. I have appealed to all of you over and over again, and so I greatly appreciate it. Councilman Pizzillo. All right, there we go. Anybody else?
Support him, so I appreciate that.
Did you? All right. Bill supports him, so it's okay for that mistake. So any other discussion? Well, then I'm going to adjourn this meeting. But
Mayor, I'm sorry. I do have a couple of information items. Just I was talking about follow-up earlier.
All right, go ahead.
So first item is we will be closed. Our city offices will be closed this coming Monday in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So that will not affect our public safety, fire, and police. We will reopen offices at 8 o'clock Tuesday, January 17th. It will impact sanitation pickup that day as well. So Monday there will be no sanitation pickup. The other item, and I know council is well aware of it, and just it's a tough one, but we lost a good friend, a colleague, city manager Daryl Crossman this past Friday evening, and obviously a lot of us knew him quite well. This one's kind of personal for me, but I did want to read the message from Mayor Schoaf, if I could, for the council and for the public. It's on behalf of myself and the City Council of Litchfield Park, and with deep personal regret, I am informing you of the passing of our city manager and dear friend, Daryl Crossman. Daryl was a valuable asset to our staff, our community, and his presence and leadership will be sorely missed. He had been fighting a long battle with cancer, but was believed to be doing well. He was admitted to the hospital yesterday, this past Friday, with complications related to the illness, and he passed away peacefully that evening. So please keep his wife Jackie and his family in your prayers. As details become available for his service, they will be provided. So just wanted to get that to the record.
Thank you, Brian. We definitely appreciate that, and we're all very saddened by what has happened, and we were all giving our prayers daily for him and for Jackie, and so there'll be an announcement, I'm assuming. Was there an announcement assuming that there's going to be a service, or?
Not at this time. They will let us know when services are set for that.
All right.
And I know it'll be a big gathering.
Offices send a card, so, all right. And so individually you can do. Yes, Councilman Stipp.
Can I do a little follow-up?
Sure you can.
Well, the only reason that this came to my mind, it's a complete change of the subject. I saw Joe closing his iPad. I made a comment about him well before Christmas about the iPad malfunction, etc. And I do want to kind of give a shout out to Brian and the staff. They not only assisted with that, but we've been able to come up with a way of bringing your own device. So now I'm able to use my laptop that I can travel with and not have to carry the iPad. So I wanted to give a shout out to Brian, and Dan's not here tonight, but to Brian and Dan and everybody for coming through and fixing that problem.
That's great. Thank you. Councilman Basilio.
If that's the case, I'd like to get together with you so I can bring mine. It's small, and that way I can use it in multiple devices. So, again, thanks for mentioning that, because, yeah, make it 3.
Make it 4.
You make it 4, so it looks like everybody's interested with their own devices on there. So,
okay, we will we'll work through assistance to make sure we get that coordinated with council. So that would be for Councilmember Pizzillo, Vice Mayor Loretano, Councilmember Campbell. Was there another hand? Okay, so we'll get those 3 scheduled.
All right, thank you. Well, future meetings, the next meeting will be a CFD meeting, a special meeting, a work session, and a regular meeting again on the 23rd of January at 4 p.m. So I'm going to adjourn this meeting, and there's no further business.
Thank you.